Hey guys, this is the second episode of the Will and Cody Show. We are now on Spotify, Google Podcasts, there's a couple other places, and YouTube, obviously. So yeah, this is a thing.
We're back.
We're pretty excited. Yeah. So we were unsure if we were going to get on Spotify, but we got approved, so that's awesome. Then our approvals are getting. We're looking for iTunes next, so we'll see if they bite. So, but yeah, William. What was the first segment you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so I think today a few things to cover. One is just an update. So last time we were talking about stimulus checks. I think when we started out, and I think by the time we recorded that, there was still some uncertainty of, was it going to get approved at 600, at 2,000? What was going to happen? So, just talking a little more about that, and it looks like it came through. So I don't know about you, but I got my stimulus check.
Yeah, I did
so
too.
that got approved at the 600 per person. So that's nice. So got that direct deposit. If you got that set up, that's always nice to get it directly. But if not, I should be coming in the mail. So hopefully that it's able to help a lot of us. We talked last time, so we won't kind of, cover that again, but on a few things you could look at, doing with that money. If you needed to use it to pay bills, hey, use it for that. And then we kind of covered a few other ideas. So I'm going to start kind of putting that into place. My wife and I are still trying to decide how we're going to use all of it. So I don't know about you, Cody. So we haven't quite moved a lot of it yet. We're still like, what do we kind of want to do with it? But once we make that, then we'll move that around. But what about you? Did you have a plan already?
Saving right now. We're going to look and see if we want to give some of it, and then maybe use a little bit of it to get some stuff around the house that the wife's been wanting. But mostly all of it's saved right now. So, but yeah, it's it's kind of a blessing. A lot of people needed it. We got a second stimulus check. So I hope everybody uses the second one wisely. Some did not use the first one wisely. So hopefully we learned from that, use the second one. And I do want to say that never expect a third one. They're talking about a third one. I know the next administration is saying that they'll have $1,400 checks come out for each person. That's cool if that happens, but don't depend on it. Don't expect that to come and then make a bad decision with what you've been given right now. So don't expect it. Let's try to build our emergency funds, put ourselves in a good place, and start being able to take care of ourselves, not needing that, because we don't want to rely on something, expect something, and then it just not come, because we all know that that's just not how it works. Congress could not vote for it, something could happen, and
we saw how
it's happened before.
How long it took between the first and the second. So you never know. They always said over the summer that the second one was going to come. So yeah, no, I agree. Sometimes things always take longer than you think they're going to take.
There's a lot of talk in DC.
Don't expect that. Yeah. I mean, hey, if we get another one, let's use it for what it's. It is supposed to stimulate the economy. So if you need to spend it, I'd say also. We didn't really talk about this last time, but thinking about small businesses, that could be another way. If you, maybe need to buy something, looking at, hey, could I buy this from a small business instead of maybe like a larger corporation? So just an idea, maybe help out some businesses that are struggling. And so I thought about that after we recorded last time. That could be another thought. If it's something that you could buy at both places, maybe looking at, local options by you, just to kind of help support that. And it's supposed to stimulate the economy, so it won't hurt you too bad if you don't really need the money, you can spend it.
Yeah, if you got some spare money, just go on a DoorDash or something. Choose a local mom and pop shop or a restaurant, and just go order something nice. Go help them out. That's I think that's if you don't know who to give it to them.
Yeah, no, so I think that'd be a great idea. I think that's all that we kind of wanted to cover with that. So hopefully you got a plan, and if you already got it, great. I'd say use it wisely. And if you haven't got it yet, hopefully it gets to you soon, so you can use it. The next thing I kind of wanted to cover, Cody, is I got a few questions that people just asked me directly. So, and so kind of share those, and I think it'd be helpful for just discussion purposes.
And by the way, if you want to ask a question, just go on our website, www.willandcody.com. We've got a contact page on there. So ask us any question you like, and we'll answer it here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, put the plug in there. So
yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. So the first question was like, for somebody that's just starting out, and so we talk a lot, and maybe we don't define terms as well. So they're like, "Hey, you're talking about mutual funds and investing, and I have no idea what you're talking about." So I think it might be helpful just to take a step back and just look at maybe just some of the terms that we use or what we talk about, and just kind of clarify what those things are. So the first one is like, just in general, what is a mutual fund? We like toss this term around a lot.
Yeah.
But for somebody who's like, I have no idea, what that is, what would you try, to describe it as best you can to somebody that, really has no idea?
Right. Yeah. So the best way it was described to me, a mutual fund is a fund that is funded mutually. And it's just,
wow.
Yeah, I know, right? And it is complicated. It get very complicated because there's many, many types of mutual funds. But in essence, it's a fund that is focused usually towards something specific. It could be a certain market. It could be just stocks, blue chip stocks. It could be bonds. It could be gold. It could be anything like that. And it's usually managed by either one person or a couple of people. They always have a manager. They're making decisions, for the people that are making this fund. And so it's kind of like, like an ETF. An ETF is something that is not managed. An ETF just usually focuses towards either a market or a certain specific types of stocks and such. Where a mutual fund, there's a little bit of leniency where the manager can make decisions on behalf of the ones that are funding the mutual fund. And so it's it's just a fund that's funded mutually, really.
Yeah.
It's a good way to diversify. There's a lot of good ones out there. There's some bad ones out there, but there's a lot of good ones that are super diversified, got a lot in one. It could have the S&P 500 with some gold, with some cash, with a little bit of bonds, really anything. And there's a lot of companies out there that have these mutual funds like Franklin Templeton, TD Ameritrade, Investco, places like that build these mutual funds for people to kind of pick and choose some things where they say, hey, I want to invest in this. This actually might be a good way to diversify, but still be, in these things that they want to invest in. Just in my opinion, it's a really good way to invest instead of just directly investing in stocks and bonds and things like that, because then you become that manager. And I don't know about you, but I'm not that great at making those kinds of investment decisions. So I think I'd rather trust a manager that's been doing it themselves and probably has their own money in it as well. That's been doing it a long time. So that's
quick summary. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I know.
No, yeah, I'd say that was good. Just another way kind of to think about it is, so if you have investments, we talk about stock, which is just ownership in a company. So it's just a little piece of a company. So instead of just saying, hey, I want to invest in this company and this company, maybe you could pick a few that you want to invest in. Instead, a mutual fund, I like to think of it as kind of like a basket or a bucket. And so instead of being able to say, I want to put my money in this or in this or in this, you could just buy the basket, and that's got a few different companies in there. And so based off what's in that basket, it kind of gets a name. So as Cody said, you could have, things that are growth stock mutual funds. And that just means that inside are growth stocks. You could have dividend stock mutual funds. And all that means is that the stocks inside there, usually produce a dividend. So the kind of different specialties. Some are based off like if they're international companies or U.S. companies. Is it, stock or bond? There's all sorts of different kinds. But in essence, it's just a collection, of a lot of different securities. So as Cody said, as far as the mutually fund, it just enables, so by a bunch of people putting their money into this fund, it allows them to go out and buy these things. So instead of me being able to buy maybe one or two, stocks, depending on how much money you have, you can obviously buy a lot more. But somebody just starting out, instead of, only being able to choose a few, If you do it a mutual fund, you have a bunch of other people that are putting their money in as well. You could buy a lot more. So say I can now own a portion of 100 companies instead. So that's the term that we use is diversification. And so it's just a big word, but it basically just spreading your risk out. So instead of investing in 3 companies and one of them does really bad, well, shoot, that hurt. But if you invest in 100 and one of them does bad, decreases your likelihood that something bad's going to happen.
It's just not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. So so that's one reason that just for a beginner, mutual funds can be a really good option. Just as far as being able to own a lot of different things without having to spend a bunch of money. Like if you only have a certain amount, it's a good way you can get a lot of different exposure without having to, spend the big bucks or having a lot of money in your account. And then another, differentiator, Cody mentioned briefly, index funds. So those are, similar, but instead of having, an active manager that'll go out and try to, trade securities, basically index funds are just set up to try to be a benchmark of an industry. So sometimes, index funds will match like the S&P 500. So whatever it is, so S&P 500 is just matching 500 stocks in the market as kind of a benchmark to say, how's the market doing? Okay, we picked these 500 that kind of represent that. And so, an index fund that measures that just owns those 500. That's all it is. And so those can be a good option because they're a lot cheaper because no one's actively managing them. So there's pros and cons to each. But just a little differentiation there. So usually your mutual fund is a little more actively managed. Somebody's buying if they like one stock or the other, versus an index is, purely usually trying to mirror, like an S&P 500 or something like that. So did you have anything else for that, Cody? Maybe I missed.
No. We know who has the finance degree. Your explanation was way better than mine.
No, you're good.
I actually have a question. So the difference between an ETF and index, is there a difference in there?
So I did want to kind of say that. So ETF is it stands for exchange traded fund. So it can vary. It doesn't have to just be like an index. There's just a little bit different in how it works with a mutual fund, and I don't want to get too bogged down in details.
Right.
But it's just instead of with the ETF, and forgive me, this is off the top of my head, you can buy it throughout the day. So for instance, if I wanted to, buy one at, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, okay, I can buy it. Versus a mutual fund, usually it waits till the end of day price and then you can buy it, so you just get whatever price it ends up with at the end of the day. So it's just a little different with how it functions. Right. There's a few different things on, when you invest as far as, shares versus, sometimes a mutual fund will have, share class. And so that's a whole different, discussion if you're just starting out. So there's a few. So
basically it can be kind of traded with like in Robinhood or something like that, where people can trade it almost like a stock, I guess.
Yeah, it would look like a stock. An exchange traded fund will look like a stock.
It's got a ticker too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it'll look like that. That's basically a good way of putting it. So it's usually that may be more accessible to some people and they like that benefit, better, but usually, by and large, they can function pretty similarly.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point. Kind of clarify that. So if you have any follow-up questions with that, sometimes it's tough off the top of our heads to think of a good answer. So we may end up writing something or doing a good short video just describing some of these things, just to make sure we cover everything. So if we missed anything, forgive us. If we said anything wrong, we'll try to make sure we correct that.
Just comment, just like, hey, you're wrong.
Yeah. So sorry. Sometimes we, again, off the top of our head, we can only do so much. The second question I wanted to cover is somebody was saying, hey, we talk, again about Roth IRA or just traditional IRA. So if we're somebody who's looking at, opening one of those, how even do we go about, doing that? Like, where do we go?
Right.
What do we look at? Do we go to an advisor? Just look up advisors and go talk to them? Do we just open one online? Like, how do we even like actually do it instead of just saying, oh yeah, go open one? It's like, okay, how do we actually do it?
Right. I guess the best way to answer that would be my experience and then some people that I know. So me personally, I work with an advisor. But most advisors do have a minimum, and so that may not work out for some people. Then I would I always recommend going with an advisor first if you can. But if not, then let's go look at, by the way, go look at your workplace. You can open up a 401k. I would also recommend that. But for the IRA or Roth IRA, look at, my dad did one with just TD Ameritrade. So usually investment companies like Franklin Templeton, Vesco, there's even banks that can do it. You can open up an IRA through them. My buddy did one through SunTrust Bank, and he's got one with them. So it's not too difficult. There's a lot of options. I even think Acorns, the app Acorns, has an IRA. It's not a Roth; it's just traditional, but they have one as well. So, but yeah, I would recommend first definitely work with an advisor. They're going to be able to help you make decisions. But at the end of the day, investing is better than not investing. And if you can't meet that minimum, then just opening up something with some account is going to be better than not investing. So even if you feel like, hey, I'm not a great investor, I don't know what all these things mean, investing is going to be better than not. So definitely look into opening something. Take a look at, when you open up an IRA, try to find some mutual funds that have a good track record. Just kind of look at the last 10, 15, 20 years, kind of see if there's a good track record. Make sure it's beating inflation. Inflation's roughly 3% right now. So you want to make sure it's beating that. Maybe look at it and say the S&P 500, which kind of mirrors the market. So if it's kind of mirroring the market, then that's a good thing. And just kind of start with that and start investing. And then if you meet that minimum, maybe down the road, then you could go to an advisor and you could talk with one and get some better advice along the way. But definitely recommend just start investing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to clarify for anybody that doesn't know, when we say minimum, advisors usually have an amount of, we'll call it assets that you have to have, kind of bring with you when you open an account with them. And so usually it's just tough for an advisor's time to spend with somebody when they really don't have a lot. So it's kind of an unfortunate thing of a lot of people when they're just starting out. Advisors, it's tough for them to spend that time on a really small account that doesn't have a lot of money in it. So when we say by minimum, usually an advisor will have, say, you have to have a certain amount of money invested, or that you're willing to bring over to invest in order to work with them. So it's kind of one of those things that some advisors may have. And then, Cody, I'd say another thing that people can look at as far as the stuff that we really like, the mutual funds, the index funds. These are things that I believe you can look into yourself. So if you had to, if you were just starting out and you couldn't get an advisor or anything like that, and you wanted to learn yourself, I'm not talking about, becoming the, next great investor or, becoming this amazing day trader. But I think you can learn enough about mutual funds and what different kinds there are, and being able to kind of just read a few different books. And, there's a lot of good people out there I know on social media giving good advice on this as well. So I'd say look at those if you really, need to. So, it doesn't have to be where you have to have an advisor. I think it's helpful. I like it for honestly a lot of the other things, as far as like, talking to them about tax planning or, stuff down the road, or different things with just planning financially, not necessarily for the investment side. So I like that kind of piece, somebody to talk to. But it's not for everybody. So I'd say, hey, it's definitely cheaper doing it yourself. You don't have to pay those fees, but if you want to take the time to learn, if you're going to just invest in mutual funds, I think it's worth it.
Yeah. And if you just Google, top 10 best mutual funds or something like that, you're going to see some mutual funds that are going to probably be doing pretty well.
Right.
You like Vanguard and Invesco, Franklin Templeton, all these places, they have rating systems as well for their for the performance over the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And so just looking at that, it doesn't take a genius to say, oh, that one's been doing pretty good. So I'd probably pretty safe with this one. Mm-hmm. So, if it's got even like just 6%, average annual rate of return, then that's good. That's better than 3% inflation. That's investing. Go for it.
Yeah.
So
I'd say that, I really like what you said. Just get started. Like, I think it's better than your money sitting, just sitting there doing nothing, or it's better than not investing at all. So I'd say the big thing is, regardless, if you go talk to an advisor or you open one up, as Cody said, there's a ton of different places you can go. Just do a quick Google search, maybe look up some, reviews on different platforms that you like. But yeah, you can open up with a lot of investment companies or a bank, those type places.
Yeah.
And as far as, filling it out, there wasn't a ton of paperwork and stuff with it. So it's not like it's going to be this crazy long process. So I think just get started, look one up, try to get that going, and then get your money, working for you.
Absolutely.
Kind of jump into it. I think it's something where we can tend to push that off and lose valuable time. And so we always talk about, the time invested is so powerful, having, interest working for you and
Absolutely.
compounding interest. So I'd say just get started. That'd be the big thing. So
yeah, and it'll grow. It'll start growing, and then you'll eventually hit that point where you're past that minimum, and then you could go to someone at Edward Jones and say, "Hey, I've got this IRA, I've got this amount of net worth," and they will be able to take you in and start kind of tweaking it a bit and help you get a little bit more out of your investments. So don't think that you need to wait for that. You can invest now, and then one day you can get an advisor.
If you wanted to go that route, if you wanted to go to an advisor still, you could definitely do that. But yeah, don't feel like you have to wait until you have, that sitting in cash. So get started now.
And many of them will talk to you. They'll give you advice and such like that. At least sit down and say, hey, I would recommend waiting, go start investing, come back in a couple of years. So there's nothing wrong with going inside one and say, hey, let's talk and just see. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, definitely. And then, if you have any questions, ask me or Cody. We're willing to help walk through it. Yeah. As far as looking at some things. Just where good places are to go open one. So, but I thought that was a good question, just practical. Like sometimes we go over that stuff of like, how do you even do it?
Sometimes I take things for granted, like with the know what an ETF is. Like I know about it, but like I don't remember the exact definition. So that's always good to go back and relearn that too. Yeah,
definitely. So those are kind of the two main questions that I wanted to cover, and maybe later in some other episodes, I can go through some other ones. But I thought those would be simple and kind of go through.
Yeah. And please ask questions. If you guys got a question, send it our way.
Yeah.
Social media, go on our website, www.willandcody.com.
Yep, for sure. Okay, another thing we can cover. I thought it'd be cool. It's January. Happy New Year. I don't know if we said that last time.
I don't think we
did. Was
it
December? I don't even know when it was.
I think it was.
So
I think we recorded in December, and then I didn't get it edited till like 2 weeks after. So
yeah, it's all right. So Happy New Year, everyone! Welcome to January 21. We're only a few weeks in, and it's a crazy year so far.
It's already crazy.
Yeah, but I do want to kind of go over. I thought it'd be a fun segment just for us to get kind of personal, talking about what are our 2021 goals? What do we kind of see us
New Year's
doing?
Resolutions.
Yes, as most people do. So I didn't know if you had any, Cody, that you wanted to share that maybe we could talk about. Just kind of anything. It doesn't have to be just finance related. So I figured it'd be kind of cool. We can just talk about that.
Yeah. Well, financially, just meeting some savings goals. Still saving for a down payment on a house. Just kind of seeing how the housing market's going, and so just continuing to consistently saving that, consistently keep investing in our IRA, our Roth IRA. And my wife wants a couch, so I'm going to create a little sinking fund for a couch and some other things. So we've got, some small savings plans. But that's about it for finance. I would like to try to run maybe a half marathon. I was going to try to do a marathon, and I was getting there, and then I actually got COVID back in December, or actually November, and you gave it to me.
I don't think
I'm
I did.
kidding.
I did not.
So I'm still recovering. I got the little bit of the coughing still, but so running is now reset, and so I went and did 2 miles yesterday. So it's gonna be a while before I get back to where I was.
Yeah.
But I'd like to run a marathon by the end of the year. So
Dude, that'd be cool.
that'd be a goal, but at least a half. Do at least a half. So
That's awesome.
but yeah, that and just kind of survive. I think surviving is after 2020. I'm just
one.
like I want to get I want to survive. So. But yeah, that's my goals.
Yeah, trying to thrive. No, that's good. Yeah, with mine, in years past, I know this is a lot of people might be the same way, but I used to make like a bunch of goals. I'm going to do all this year, and then I maybe do a few of them. So it's like, so this year, I tried to be pretty specific on what I wanted to do, and then I'm actually not starting them all at once. I'm kind of trying to focus on a few at a time. And I'm trying to build habits. That's what I'm trying to do this year. So I'm trying to focus on what habits do I want to have that at the end of the year, I'll be like, man, I'm happy I did those habits throughout the year. And so I'm starting implementing those. And I'm trying to do it in different categories. So you have, fitness, family, financial. I'm forgetting some of the other categories. But yeah, so like there's basically 4 or 5 main categories of your life. And so just trying to go through those and trying to pick a few for each one. So for physical, that's the one I'm starting now. I'm trying to wake up a little earlier than I was last year. And then I'm hitting the gym first thing in the morning. I used to do it in either the afternoon or the evening. And so I just find I get so much momentum on my day when I get that out of the way. And then I kind of go on to all the other things that I want to do. It does help me doing it later on, but I think start doing it first thing is really helpful for me. So I'm trying to do that. It's been a struggle the past few weeks, but I've been good so far. I haven't quit yet. So, so I'm trying to do that. And keeping the momentum. So last fall, I really started, working out, lifting weights more than cardio. And so just trying to build up a little bit more. So I've put on weight, and that was kind of my goal. Nice. I did actually want to put on weight, but now it gets the fun time of I need to trim back, more. So I'm going to keep working out, trying to trim for the summer. So just losing any excess, weight that I don't need.
Right.
And hopefully not losing any muscle that I built along the way. So that's kind of be my spring, is hopefully doing that. And then, my wife and I have a few things we want to do. Just together, more focused time, more, time spent together throughout the week where it's not just, we're together in the same room, but it's like, okay, what are we intentionally doing together? How are we improving us? We're communicating. So all that kind of fun married stuff, Yeah. And we always talk about of like, we got to communicate more, we want to, read marriage books together, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to try to do that. And then as far as, finances go, as you said, continuing savings goals. So we got investing goals and savings goals that we had last year. So we want to keep those going. And then another thing that we're, going to be looking at is maybe some ways we can, have a side hustle or two, just some other ways we can make money, just some other income streams, that we can have to bring a little more money in. So it's always helpful. If you, looking at the budget, there's only so much you can cut back. So starting to look at, okay, how can we increase that income number?
Right.
So we're going to do that. Just looking for a few ways that we could do that. And then another thing that we've really tried to work on is a lot of our goals. And, Cody, when we talk about saving or investing, usually it's down the road. So like saving for a down payment on a house, that's going to be a while for us while we're trying to save. So it's kind of hard just to continually year after year save towards that, or retirement, or, just financial freedom. Sometimes it can get tough as you're trying to, set money aside for that. So we're going to try to have a few goals this year that are things that are good. It's not like a waste of money, but that we want to save for and use this year. So it's like if it's something we want, something we can achieve this year, if we work really hard and save, that we can actually get this year. So we're thinking through a few things. One, my wife likes to play the piano, and so we don't have one. So we're thinking about getting her an electric keyboard, like a nicer one, not like, too cheap. It's one that actually feels real. And they can be kind of pricey. And so it's not something that we would just buy for a birthday or Christmas, that's not going to be in the budget. So we're looking at, saving up for one of those. And that's something we can work towards and be able to get within the year. So it's not like, oh, I'm pushing this off for 5, plus years down the road. It's something that we can actually see this year. And I think that'd be encouraging for us to save and to be able to get. And it's not unreasonable. It's not, it's not crazy expensive. It's enough. Hey, so
if you got that margin and you're constantly saving, there's nothing wrong with stopping savings for one thing if you want to push it off a little longer and start putting it towards a sinking fund or something else. Right. There's no shame in that. That's awesome. In fact, sometimes small victories are a good thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's emotional. Yeah, just getting that victory. And our goal would be that we don't reduce any of our other savings goals. So we have a few sinking funds, as you mentioned, that we may be like, okay, we think we're good. We don't have to put as much towards that. And so be able to push more towards this, but hopefully be able to keep, our retirement and other savings goals, the same.
Awesome.
That'd be our goal. So that's another reason we need to increase the income is there's only so much, money to work with. So
that's true.
We got to increase that. And I think that was it. That's kind of the main things we'll focus on. So I just really wanted to keep it simple this year, focus on good habits. And I think that'll be, at the end of the year, we'll feel a lot better after having done those.
Yeah. And I think that's good. Good habits, building good habits, even if it's not finance related, it can actually help you. That's one reason why I like to run is just, it takes time. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort, but it mirrors the finance world of, savings, investing and getting that. So building good habits, it'll help you make better decisions in the long run. That's why I recommend everybody work out, everybody find an activity that they like that takes a little effort, a little time to get into and patience. It's a good learning tool. So I would recommend that if anybody's curious or wants a 2021 New Year's resolution. So but awesome, man. I think that's it. We wanted to kind of wrap this one up a little bit quicker. The last one went a little too long. I didn't want to edit an hour, so we're going to wrap this one up. But thanks guys for listening. We're going to keep doing this. I think people are enjoying it. We're going to be on Spotify. We're looking to be on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and some other places. Definitely on YouTube as well. So share, subscribe, like, whatever social media you're finding this on. Please share the word. And if you got any questions, ask away. We'll answer them in the next podcast. So we appreciate it, guys. Hope you have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
All right. See you guys.